In today's show, we'll discuss whether you should be selling in May and going away for the markets, or should you stay in May and hope and pray. We'll discuss that in today's show and a whole lot more. Smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel. If we look at the banter bubbles over here on the hourly, some of the coins are starting to pull back. Daily also looks very, very similar, finding a little bit of resistance coming into some key levels over there, and momentum is starting to wean off. So is this the start of the sell in May and go away? Or is this just going to be reaccumulation and much, much higher? We'll discuss all of this and a whole lot more in today's show. Let's get into it. So crypto fear and greed has risen quite a lot. We're actually teetering right on the edge of crossing into the greed zone, now sitting at 56, which is still considered neutral, but it's vastly different to what you're seeing in the stock market, because the stock market is still there in fear. Although it's risen towards the upside, it was in extreme fear for quite a long period of time. You've started to see a bit of a spike back up towards the upside. So some optimism coming back into the markets. And I'm sure if the stock market can reclaim the 200-day moving average, that'll bring more optimism and you'll start to move into neutral. At that point, crypto is probably in the greed zone and has probably cleared the major resistance that we've outlined around that $97,000 region. So we'll look at this. We'll look at the best case scenario for the bulls, what the bears are going to be looking for. We're not bullish. We're not bearish. We're just looking for trade opportunities over here. So if we do look at the stock market, one thing that I'm focusing on is you've seen a massive uptick in the RSI based off of where I updated you yesterday. Yesterday, the RSI was trading somewhere down here. And now it's had a marked increase, right? Right as it's approaching some pretty key levels. Remember, this is the downsloping trend line that's been governing that RSI towards the downside, which outlined that bearish divergence, which has, of course, played out. But you still need to break that RSI level over there. Otherwise, it's just going to be another rejection as price does come into this key zone. So we have outlined risk to reward wise, a sensible short trade setup that you could be looking to take. You'd be looking to scale into this position anytime now, leading into that 200-day moving average, right? You're watching for resistance in there. Of course, don't blindly just place a short trade entry with a limit order. You can kind of observe as price approaches that, because you may get a little bit higher. But generally speaking, watching that $5,700 level, I think that's an important zone that you need to see bulls reclaim for the stock market to move into a more healthy zone, right? You'd be looking for something like that. If you can consolidate above that 5.7 level, well, that should stop you out of the short trade, even if your stop loss is hanging around here, because a consolidation in that region would imply that chances are that the bottom is in. Now, it doesn't mean that you won't come back down, right? You probably will come back down, even if the bottom were in for the stock market, to set in a higher low and get a little bit of a healthy reset. And I'd imagine that could all take place around sometime next week. Like you can see, if you look at the monthly scale over here for the cryptocraft sessions and what you're looking at over here, what we're looking at is the unemployment non-farm payroll, which is coming out on Friday, but more importantly is next week, Wednesday, right? Next week, Wednesday, we have the FOMC statement and press conference, and Jerome Powell's likely to ruffle some feathers over there. We'll see what he does. Does he pivot or not? If he does, it'll be the first time that he has pivoted completely. We need to see still at least another 65 to 70 basis point cuts to be considered to move or shift monetary policy and get into a bit more of a healthy environment where we could see things appreciate towards the upside, right? So both the NASDAQ as well as the S&P 500 is coming into that resistance zone. Here it is for the QQQ, right? You're looking at that resistance level over there, also the 0.65 level, and then you can see the RSI coming into the trend line over there. If it does start to reject and come down, of course, then you'd expect price to also reject at the same place. So those are some key levels, some things that we need to look at over there. Daily exchange volume, it's all lining up, because you would also have, I can't draw on this chart, but if you can imagine over here, there'd be a downsloping trend line as well, meeting as resistance over there. And you want to see this start to break and hold about 56 billion, right? If you can get about 56 billion, that will start to look like you've shifted momentum in terms of the daily exchange volume, and more people are depositing onto exchanges, which means that they have the opportunity to buy. If you're depositing on exchanges, probably they're going to be buying. Okay, liquidation level is still pretty low over there. DXY still gaining acceptance under this key level over here. So that could create the next leg down. Now, if that does create the next leg down, that probably creates a spike in the stock market. But this is going to be a multi-decade trend line, right? When you meet this trend line, I would expect at the very least a consolidation and possibly even a major reversal. But a lot can happen in this time period, right? If you see a consolidation around this region over here for the DXY, well, that could create some serious rallies and a risk-on environment. So we need to be paying high attention to these things. Now, what about May? What typically happens in May for Bitcoin? I mean, you can literally look here. The data is there for you. These are all the previous Mays, all the way coming from 2013 for Bitcoin. And you can see it's pretty evenly split, right? On average, price is up about 7.94%. Half the time it's red, half the time it's green. But what we can see is when it is red, it goes down quite a lot, right? There's almost double-digit red pullbacks that occur in the time period of May. Now, one of the interesting things that I've been looking at is this, right? We had mapped this out a very, very long time ago, ever since the bottom when you got the deviation over here. And this was our attempted prediction on the timing cycle, right? For how long is this Bitcoin bull run going to last? We can map out when the bottoms come into play. Usually these cycles are very, very cyclical, but eventually there's going to be a curveball and this thing is going to break. But as it currently stands, this is what we're looking at. We anchored the measure point from either the low, the cycle low, or from the halving cycle, and both results come to a pretty similar outcome. And that outcome is that you're looking at about 46 to 49 months before you put in a cycle top, which means if bulls do start to break back up into all-time highs over here, of course, then the bull run is back on. And then you could look at continuation all the way to our optimal target, which was that August to November time period, where we're looking for some sort of a major top within the market. So timing-wise, there could still be continuation. What's very interesting about this is that the way that I'd previously mapped this out, I had moved this up a little bit, right? Previously, what we're looking at is we're looking at something like that, right? I had moved up about 1 month over there. So we're looking at a major peak into February, because this is what we had previously seen as very, very strong Januaries and Februaries in the final year of a bull run, and then a pullback all the way into May. As you can see, it came very, very, very close, and I haven't redrawn any of this. This is exactly as it was from many months ago. I think even over a year ago. You can go back and you can find this. This is looking at the BLX, which has got the most price history. And we said probably you get some sort of a correction into May, reaccumulation, and then continuation. Now, we're waiting for the monthly candle close, right? If we get a monthly candle close that occurs above last month's high over there, that will be a strong indication that, yes, realistically, the bottom may actually be in and we back on for this trajectory, right? We need to take things one step at a time. We do have to be really, really careful, because there is still major resistance over here in terms of a monthly order block where we need to get through that level, right? That's going to be huge, huge resistance. We've spoken a lot about this. We spoke about going long from $81,000 to $83,000 into the $93,000 region, then taking profit, and that we at that level. And then we said the best thing would be to rather wait for price to reclaim structure over here, and then you can get long again, basically at almost exactly the same price as what you exited. So you're currently in that environment right now. Right, so monthly scale still looks okay. If we get a strong monthly close like this, then basically any pullbacks that occur are most likely going to be for buying. I'll summarize it. You're looking for pullback anywhere between $85,000 and $89,000 in that case, if this is going to be a strong monthly close, right? We'll reevaluate each and every single day as price does unfold, but this is essentially the trajectory. And you can see as well, when you look at a simple chart like this, looking at the return on investment from the cycle bottom, we tracked most similarly to the orange line for the majority of the cycle, and then we started to deviate, right? We're following the purple one right now. That's where we're at. So could there be a snapback and a catch-up phase into this? I guess a lot of that's going to be decided by what the Fed do, right? If the Fed do some sort of a massive shift in their monetary policy, that could ignite everything basically, right? And you would see a massive drop over here in the DXY, and that could really quickly get things going. So I think that right now you need to be paying a lot of attention while the markets are boring, because this is where the exciting things happen, right? So is it possible that these levels got completely front run and you're not coming back into that zone? Absolutely, that's 100% possible, right? You've reclaimed back into the trading range. We said a long time ago, if bulls can get back up into the zone over here and they can hold price action over there, that will be a strong indication that bulls are taking back control. And as it currently stands, it does look like bulls are taking back control. But it's not 50-50. I would say it's about 55-45. 55% in the bull's favor, 45% in the bear's favor. We need to give a little bit more time, but you're getting your crosses over here on the momentum oscillators, right? Look at that, starting to cross towards the upside. The previous times that we've seen this, you can see we've put in some sizable moves, right? And on top of that, you're reclaiming the key moving averages, right? So we looked at the breakdown, we got the breakdown, we said a risky long trade into here. And now if you can smash through that and hold that, which is what you're getting, you have the opportunity to consolidate price within this region, pulling all the moving averages back up and reestablishing those trending longs, right? So ultimately, what we need to see is the longer that bulls can hold price action sideways here, the better for them, right? That will shift the odds from what I've just said is about a 55-45 split to maybe about a 65 split in favor of the bulls, right? 65% chance that bulls are going to continue this trajectory and take control. We have the liquidity grab that we're still outlining over here, waiting for. That's at $96,000. It's $42 million worth of liquidity. Watch for the spike up. It's still the same plan. Down sloping trend line, parallel channel governing price towards the downside on the daily time frame, coming off low volume, very, very similar to the stock market. Let's go back to that stock market. You can see over here, remember, trend line retest on the RSI, volume dropping off very, very low, coming into the 200 moving average. Those are key resistance zones. So if you're betting long on Bitcoin, you're betting that it's going to decorrelate completely from the stock market, or you're betting that the stock market is going to breach this level, volume is going to tick up, and price is going to break and hold above, right? That's the bet that you're placing. Remember, we spoke about it. We said that the time to look for those long trades was off of that 81 to 83K level into the zone. Now it's time to be cautious. And if we do get that liquidity grab, that would be the equivalent of spiking up into this level. And if you can hold that level, bullish, right? If you can't hold that level and you can't break back above, essentially, I would say, call it $100,000 for the sweet spot. If you can hold above $100,000, you've reclaimed all of this territory. But if you spike into $100,000 and then you immediately start to come down, closing daily candles back inside this parallel channel below these high volume regions over here, that's your trap scenario. We did cover this at length yesterday. Nothing has changed, right? So there it is. But what we would say is that the longer that bulls maintain price action holding sideways over here, the better it is for them, because that actually allows for all of your moving averages to catch up, right? All of your moving averages, the longer you hold sideways, the quicker these start to move towards the upside, which will therefore act as support, right? There's your 200 MA, there's your 200 EMA. These will slowly start to rise, and that will drastically increase the possibility that that is actually the bottom. We range bound, right? You can see between the yellow lines, we are still range bound over there. We do have the presence of the bear moon, and we've seen the success rate of this. Now, if the bulls have taken control during a bear moon time period, what's most likely to occur is just sideways price action, which is why I say if bulls can simply just hold price action between these levels, and we'll change the color scheme over here to make it easy for you to see in that pink zone over there, between 90,000 and the current highs, which is, let's say, the current highs right there at about $96,000. If they can just hold sideways over the coming days into next week, into the FOMC, chances are that the momentum is totally shifted. Bulls have control, and you might not even get a deeper dip over there, right? Now, if you are trading the markets actively, I do want to remind you, for those of you on LBank, we know that over 5,000 of you have already joined LBank using the link in the description below and claimed your sign-up bonuses. If you are trading there, remember, by trading there, you're getting additional chances to spin the wheel where you have a 100% chance of winning something, right? Some prizes are bigger than others. The biggest looks like this, 1 ETH. You can win 1 ETH, currently valued, just under $2,000. So that's a beautiful prize over there. Go take advantage, take a couple of trades over there. Everything is listed below to showcase what you need, right? If you trade $1,000 worth of trading volume, you get a spin. Come through spin over here, claim your prizes. They'll deposit it straight into your account, and you get a sign-up bonus as well, right? So it is linked in the description over there. All right, let's continue. Equally tight range to Bitcoin's range, of course, because these are almost inversely correlated, is the USDT dominance, right? I'm keeping a very, very, very close eye on this. I do want to remind you, when you zoom out and you look at the USDT dominance, it is coming off of a break of a parallel channel that was respected for quite a long period of time. And that's that one, right? There it is. This was the break of the parallel channel. And we spoke about this. We set up the short trade on this, right? We said once this did start to break down, pretty much you could have that long bias. Let's just quickly pull up the short trade over there. I have deleted it since, but we said you'd be basically looking at that short trade over there. That played out, and now you can extend that a little bit further down to 4.62%. So the more you consolidate over here on the USDT dominance, very similar to Bitcoin, but the inverse, you will see those high time frame moving averages starting to roll over, acting as resistance. And the longer you consolidate over here, the higher the chances are that you're going to start to break down, and then you open up this trading range. Remember, a breakdown in the USDT dominance would mean that crypto is going to hold up, and then we start to see some shifts occurring, right? So how do you play this? What are you looking for? Well, ultimately what I'd be looking for over here is every time that this comes into the range lows, which is over here, you should be looking for short trades, right? Short trades on crypto and Bitcoin. Correlate whatever chart you're looking at. You should be seeing those coins coming into resistance as this comes into support, and that's where you're looking for those short trades, right? Then when it comes towards the top side over here, so if you see the squeeze a little bit higher into this region, remember this moving towards the upside adds downward pressure onto the crypto assets, right? Then you're looking for long trades, right? Why are you looking for long trades? Well, you're looking for long trades because the chances are that this range will continue to be respected. So when it gets up here, long crypto, then you have two trades in play, right? You have a beautiful tight range. Eventually, one of these levels is going to be lost. And that way you're going to have two trades on, both a long and a short trade, and you can allow whichever one is going to be the next trending move to play out, and the next one you move your stops to break even and you stop out of that trade, right? So that's what we're looking at over there. That's what we're looking at. Basically, hedge positions over there for the market. Bitcoin dominance continues to rise towards the upside. It's got between 2 and 8% left to go, in my opinion. I think that Bitcoin dominance is going to find major resistance in this region over here. About another 2% takes you to the 0.786. That's 66% on the Bitcoin dominance chart, possibly rising just under 70%, right? That round number of 70%, you got 69.75%, which lines up at your fib level at the 0.886, right? So we're eyeing out between the 0.786 and the 0.886 as the next meaningful level of resistance, right? So I'd expect at least in this 2% region, a little bit of a pause. It's all very interesting because if you're thinking far ahead and it continues at this rate, we're looking at the weekly chart, you could see, sometime during next week, which does line up around that FOMC statement, that the Bitcoin dominance could be hitting that level coming into that date. So I think the next 2 weeks are vitally important, although it feels very boring. There's actually behind the scenes a lot of important stuff that's going on, right? All right. When new Pinex bots? Andre asks, when new Pinex bots? Soon. Okay, we'll open up some new bots very, very soon. For the rest of you, the bots are below. If you want to trade those, you can just copy trade those over there. You can also create your own ones if you want. You don't have to utilize mine. The bots are doing very well. They're up. I mean, these things are up. Let's quickly click on some of them. There's the Soul one. There's the Sui one. Let's see. These two are doing pretty well. 245%, 409%. So they're doing pretty well. We will create a couple more. I want to open one up on possibly Sonic. That's one that I'm looking at. We'll see if they have one on Hyperliquid. That's another one that I'd be interested in opening up on. So yeah, just get your account ready. For those of you that don't have one already, sign up over there. Click that link. You get $1,000 sign up bonus. And then just wait for when I open up the new bots and you can copy those. They'll be linked in the description below, right? When I open them. Okay, cool. What else? What else have we got? So we can have a look at some of the altcoins. What I wanted to showcase to you over here is if this is the start of a trending move, right? And that's a if. We have to see Bitcoin break above $97,000, hold there, consolidate there. Then the chances are that all-time highs are back on the cards, right? And then we're at the start of a trending move. And if it is the start of a trending move, you're starting to see the presence of golden crosses occur across multiple different coins, right? This is ETH on the 4-hour time frame, the 50 and 200 EMA. It's just about to cross, right? And that's part of the reason why we started to look for at least those long trades. Now, full disclosure, I've consequently taken out this trade. I've stopped out of the trade. I took some profits off the table. The rest, the other 50%, I stopped out at break even. You don't need to do that. Why did I do that? I did that because I'm currently at one of the biggest crypto events of the year, Token 2049. I don't want to be too distracted. I don't want to have to focus on the chart. I like to monitor my trades independently, even though I have hard stop losses, and therefore I close the position, right? Should you close the position if you're still in it? No, the trade is still valid. Everything over here is still valid on the ETH trade. If ETH breaks below 1674, you can invalidate on that trade idea. That's the consolidation that led to the move towards the upside. You can basically continue to hold this trade. I think ETH could move up to about $2,000. We do still have the ETH trade on, at least through the Pinex bot. So at least a little bit of exposure over there where it's doing some automated trading, not nearly up as much as the other ones. But it's still doing okay, right? If this breaks above $2,000, that's a big SR flip region, right? Very, very, very important. If you can start to take out that zone over there, you can look at expansion all the way to the yearly open as a real possibility. But you need to see a healthy environment from Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin needs to hold up for that to happen. Okay, so golden cross over there. Solana's already put in the golden cross, currently backtesting into the 50 EMA. Sui obviously did a long time ago because it had a massive move towards the upside, which we did capitalize on. So this could be putting in a bit of a local top. I probably wouldn't want to be longing for the first time over here on something like that. We can look at Sonic, right? Sonic putting in the golden cross over there as well, currently testing between the 50 and 200 EMA. So if this were the start of a trending move, probably not a bad zone. You know, you can easily spot an invalidation underneath this candle over here. You basically want to hold up above 48.51. So just under 50 cents over there. You want to see Sonic continue to maintain that. Sonic is Phantom, rebranded as Sonic, right? Hyperliquid also still riding and respecting that 50 and 200 EMA. So moving towards the upside. What else have we got? We can have a look at a couple of others. How have them? Let's see some of the real world assets. Where's Mantra, right? Mantra is still pretty much dead. Still getting absolutely smashed over here. Honestly, I wouldn't be taking this trade. I told you guys long ago when we exited that way higher, $7, $8, right? Ondo, still respecting this level. Let's look at some of the meme coins. How are these things doing? Let's zoom through to the meme coins. Let's see. Where's WIF? Okay, has WIF. Okay, also getting a 50 and 200 EMA crossover there. So not bad. A lot of the coins are currently, as of today, coming back to test some of these levels. What about Pepe? That is Pepe coin, not the actual Pepe. This is Pepe, right? Also 50, 200 EMA cross, holding that as support. MOG, 50, 200 cross, right? So a lot of these things, let's see Frog. How's Frog doing? Also 50, 200 EMA cross. So you can see if this were the start of a trending move for Bitcoin to break out to new all-time highs and start to move parabolically and play catch-up in terms of the return on investments, in terms of this cycle analysis, then, yeah, I mean, those could be some good entries. But I would definitely remain patient, right? Remain patient. Be very, very careful. Be critical. Be objective when it comes to looking at each chart independently. Try not to get too emotional. You know, I read the chats, guys. I see that there are a handful of very emotional people over here, right? If you're very emotional, you still have a lot of lessons to learn when it comes to markets, trading, investing. I mean, how can you be emotional about prices going up or down? Like, people become almost religious. They'll fight to the death over the direction of price. It's insane. Do you understand how silly that sounds? Anyway, especially when you get upset when one person thinks something is going another way. That it's just insanity. Anyway, let's continue. So there are big news-driven events that are happening for crypto and Bitcoin, but I do want to remind you, oftentimes these become signs and symptoms of market cycle tops, right? The more so-called good news that comes out, the closer you are probably towards the end. The best entries are usually created on extreme fear and pessimism within the market. So we're seeing a lot of things, right? Of course, the Trump administration coming into crypto, interest in crypto. You know, they have their own business that's busy buying up Ethereum, Bitcoin, etc. We got this, call it space race, if you will, where nation states are gunning for Bitcoin. Who's going to be the first to get the most amount of Bitcoin in a strategic reserve. We're looking at all these things. You got other articles that have come out, right? $2 billion Bitcoin staking protocol Solve unveils their first Sharia compliant BTC yield offering in the Middle East. Remember, you know that under Islamic finance principles, you can't always have these types of things. So this is the first one that's being approved. So a lot of bullish so-called catalysts, but we need price action to follow. We need higher highs and high lows, which fair enough, we have that. But we need it on all the time frames, right? You need the 4-hour, the daily, and the weekly to be in an uptrend, to be in a convincing uptrend. And for that to happen, you'd probably see this, right? This chart will give you all the answers that you need. Once you get that beautiful cross with the yellow back above the purple, the green also back above the purple, which means you want it to look like this, right? This is the posturing you want. When this started to occur over here, you can see price above the yellow and above the green and above the purple, price held sideways. And that's where you started to put in your big moves, right? That's where you catch those beautiful, beautiful moves. So a lot to look at. Also, if we do get the big move, of course, guys, I still hold all of my Goku. I'll be keeping an eye out on this. I see that the team just started initiating a burn mechanism, right? So they burned over 1.5 million Goku. Go through, check out their Twitter over here. You can see week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. It looks like they're going to just keep burning every single week. You know, a little bit of a deflationary meme coin over there. I don't know if that's the first deflationary meme coin. It might be. All right. What else? Let me know in the comments if there is anything else that you guys want to have a look at. Yes, I am still holding Goku Noah. I am. It's not worth me exiting Goku unless it reaches critical mass, right? Why is it not worth it? Because I'm obviously one of the biggest holders and I have more to lose if I exit, right? I'm going to get absolutely grilled by the community. They're going to call me a pump and dumper, all these things. It's not worth it. It's not worth it for me to exit. I'll only exit if it reaches critical mass. Okay, cool. So Solana, we can have a look at Solana. Let's see what else. Solana, if you do get the pullback again, same level, 120, looking for that inverse head and shoulders. We planned that weeks ago when price started to move up over here. I said I wouldn't be surprised to see a pullback forming the right shoulder for a lot of these coins. You can see the momentum oscillator starting to come down, like we said. I just don't know if we're going to get an as deep dip as what we're looking for. Let's actually quickly see something just out of interest sake. I'm just very curious how this daily chart is going to line up with the moon phases over here. So we got about 15 days. And that would take you to the 12th of May, right? Around the 12th of May. Let's just quickly see over here. Is there anything on the 12th of May coming up? We have core CPI. That's what we have on the 12th of May. Core CPI data. So maybe that data will come out good, right? Just forward looking ahead already. Maybe, you know, maybe the FOMC statement is a little bit hawkish, leads to that dip that we need, lead into the next bull moon, and then all this data comes out very, very positive. Things are under control. And then you print those right shoulders and it's continuation onwards and upwards, right? So that's what we're looking at over there. Yes, for the rest of you, I'll see you at Whale School, right? Make sure you join Whale School if you haven't already joined Whale School. But other than that, guys, that is it from me. I hope that all of you have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful day. And I will see the rest of you on Whale School later this evening. Have a good day and cheers for now.